You're listening to Witness, the World Service History Programme, with me, Nina Robinson. And today I'm taking you back to the 1950s and the early days of Indian restaurants in the English Midlands. Nowadays, the area is famous for being the home of great curries. But back in post-war Britain, spicy food was a rarity. Immigration from South Asia changed all that. I've been speaking to Nurjaman Khan, one of the area's early curry pioneers, who first arrived into London's Heathrow Airport in the summer of 1957.
From Bangladesh. Probably I was about 18, 19 years old. From Heathrow Airport, I took a coach to Victoria Station.
He was trying to make his way to England's second city, Birmingham.
Because I knew somebody from my village who lived in Birmingham. Also, I had my brother's cousin lived in here.
But it wasn't as easy as he thought it would be to get there.
In my own way, when I was at home, I could speak English well. But when I came in England, I couldn't make anybody understand at all, because I went to the college and I actually was taught in English media. But the accent that we used then, an accent in England, was quite different, so nobody could understand me. It was difficult.
Especially when you were there thinking what a great communicator you were, and then you came here.
Yeah, and so what I did, I wrote it in a piece of paper saying I want to go to Birmingham.
Out for a test run at Birmingham, a revolutionary design...
The industrial heartland of 1950s Britain, the city was teeming with factories, iron foundries and motor manufacturing plants.
Packing a modified motorcar engine between two wheels.
Mr. Khan found himself a job and earned enough money in the space of a year to enter a very different world. The Indian restaurant trade, which at that time in Birmingham and the nearby city of Wolverhampton was a brand new venture.
My class friend's cousin, it was a new place, he was developing a new place. He wanted to make a restaurant and he approached me. So this was the first restaurant in Wolverhampton called Kohinoor.
Named after the famed and something cursed Indian diamond, the Kohinoor eventually started to make Nurjaman Khan some money. A good return on his initial investment, but it did not come easy. They had to persuade the customers to come in, which began with having quite a few English items on the menu.
We'll do an omelette, we'll do a roast chicken, we'll do a chicken liver, and we will do lamb liver, things like that. And that's how we started.
Was there chips on the menu?
Oh, chips on the menu, yes. Chips definitely was on the menu.
And that was popular?
That was popular, yes. They will have, a lot of people will have chips and curry. Rice was difficult to sell, but they will have a chips and curry. But there was no naan in them days.
There was no breads?
There was chapati and there was parota, but there was no naan.
For now, Mr. Khan was teaching his clientele to explore new flavours.
We will start probably with them with a very mild, and then we will sort of divert them into something a little bit more spicy, to guide them through the dishes that we have. And the people ask questions, what do you eat? Things like that they would say. And this is what we eat, more or less.
So they'd ask about the authenticity of the food?
Yeah. Bangladeshi people are very fish eater people, aren't they? So
was there fish on the menu?
Prawns. Because the fish you find nowadays was not available. Foreign fish wasn't available at all. You will have the Indian vegetable as we find it nowadays was not available. Okra, brinjal, coriander, for instance. Coriander was not available then.
No coriander?
No, coriander wasn't available then. And marrows and all kind of Indian vegetables that you find nowadays was not available at all.
But you could always source the right spices?
Yeah.
In fact, Indian spices have been part of the British diet from as early as the 18th century, as detailed in recipe books by Hannah Glass, a bestseller which came out in 1747, and then later by Mrs. Beetham. The first Indian restaurant recorded was opened by Dean Mohammed and called the Hindustani Coffee House in London, advertised in 1810. It went bankrupt after 2 years.
A Birmingham brass founder duplicates work outside his factory.
In post-war Britain, curry began to gain widespread popularity with the settlement of immigrant communities from South Asia. Nurjaman Khan sold his restaurant stake in Wolverhampton and moved to the centre of Birmingham, where there too a few Indian restaurants had recently opened.
I knew Bombay restaurant. Mr. Samed, the person that Bombay's owner, I got to know him well, got quite friendly with him, and they were struggling in a sense.
So he began to work for Abdul Sumed at the Bombay. Anthony Uddin is Mr. Sumed's son.
My dad used to be owner of the Bombay restaurant in Birmingham. Well, he originates from Bangladesh, of course. I think he was in the Merchant Navy. His passion was to open a restaurant. He was very particular how he decorated it. It was a big glass chandelier.
So very grand.
Very grand, yeah. It was a posh, in those days, kind of like one of the posh restaurants.
As manager of the Bombay, and with his English now much improved, Nurjaman Khan played an important role.
In Bombay, what I noticed, the people will come with the family and they will say, we've been in India, we tasted. Majority of our good customers, if you like, the expat who has served in India. Then we get people coming from pub, young people, drinkers. They will have curry and chips. We had to then become the educator of the people eating curries, if you like.
They made an excellent team, Nurjaman Khan and Anthony's father, Abdul Samed, who was an innovator, always trying out new things, building a bar waiting area and even trying to bring in live music. But it was installing a tandoori clay oven, the first Midlands restaurant to do so, that really took off. Finding out the secret marinade required industrial espionage.
He hired a chef from London, special chef that only he was able to prepare the spices in the dish for the tandoori. But the sauce was the important part, so we had to know what was in the sauce. He would come in secretly into the kitchen storeroom and he would lock the door and he would make his sauce. So somehow we managed to smuggle a person in on a particular day, and then when he came, he sat down and did his sauce, and the other person watched, but obviously he didn't see where the other person was. But we managed to get the recipe. I mean, Nurjaman Khan was the best manager, and he managed well. He introduced silver service and trolley service and all kind of things. He was the one that guided the Bombay towards getting into the Good Food Guide.
And I remember in good times in Bombay, there was 20, 30 people waiting outside. And I was asked to go to Pebble Mill studio. And I had an interview there, and I had to take some spices on, and then displayed it on the television, and it became very popular.
I mean, it got to a stage where everybody else that opened after that was even more higher, tried and get a higher class. Every single one had to be higher than the other. The funny thing was, though, 90% of the people that opened restaurants in the West Midlands area had all worked for Dad.
Anthony Uddin's father, Abdul Samed, carried on running restaurants in Birmingham before returning to Bangladesh, where he passed away on the 1st of January 1990. Nurjaman Khan, 80 next year, still lives in the Midlands. Their stories were brought together in a recent exhibition detailing the history of Bangladeshi restaurants in Birmingham, called The Knights of the Raj. You've been listening to Witness with me, Nina Robinson.